Hey everybody, how you doing out there? Well, this is the video I was telling you guys that I was gonna tell you 3 stories, and I'm not doing it out. I'm not doing it out in the woods today, on according to the way the weather is. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm doing this right at my house. It's a little more comfortable. Excuse me, and most importantly about the environment, because not too good to film out there right now. Anyway, now for the last video I told you I had 3 stories I was going to tell you, okay? And what I had done, because I've been a little busy, I did some interviews, okay? With several people with eyewitness accounts. And the 3 stories I'm about ready to tell you are factual and true. And the people I interviewed are totally credible. Okay? Now, we'll start with the first story. I met this older lady, and her and her husband, they own property outside of Redding, California. And on this particular property, they have been totally harassed, mentally tormented, and in some occasions, what's happening to them, these entities are getting awfully brazen. She went on to tell me, I asked her exactly what was going on. This is what she told me. She said that they own some property outside of Redding, California. On this particular property, her and her husband, from whether it's daytime or nighttime, they keep having experiences and interactions with these hominid hybrids. Okay? And I continued to ask her, I said, now, what kind of interactions is going on exactly? And her response to that was, well, where do I start? I said, well, let's just start where you've been having these experiences. And she says, whether it's day or night, they're constantly harassed, basically getting like mentally tormented. She says, from time to time, she goes out on her property in the daytime, and she gets all kinds of strange things occur. Strange vocalizations like grunts and groans, growling. And one day she was out there, it was in daytime, and she told me that this time they were awfully close, real close, although she couldn't see them, which I understand this. And she said, for one exception, she goes, they stink really bad. I know when they're on my property because of the smell. It's extremely pungent. Now I know exactly what she's dealing with now. And I says, okay, what else happens? She says, well, sometimes we'll be out on our property at daytime and doing some work or whatever, and they start throwing debris at us for the force, and including rocks. She said, I go, what do you do then? She says, I go run in the house. I stay there. And I asked her, well, what occurs when the sun sets? She went on to tell me it gets even worse. They come in really close to their home. The vocalization is very deep gut and throttle. In other words, you could just feel it. And she could hear movement going all around their home. And she said this goes on all night, and as a matter of fact, one night they stepped out of their house, her husband did. As soon as he stepped foot on the property, they started throwing rocks and debris at him and started doing the vocalization. He went back in the house, locked himself in. She told me that they're afraid to go out on their property daytime and nighttime, and especially more at nighttime. She asked me, could you please tell me what the hell's going on? Well, when we got done with the interview, I told her, I said, well, let me be frank about things. As a researcher in cryptology and anthropology, I know exactly what you're going through. I've had many and many accounts of interactions with these hominids. And I told her exactly what's going on. It seems to me most likely your home is built in their territory. And secondly, they're mentally tormenting you because they don't want you here, they want you to leave. And until that happens, this will continue. And now, here's the clincher. This happened 2 weeks ago when I interviewed her. 2 weeks ago. It's still happening today as I'm talking about it to you right now. Now, if that doesn't tell you that these hominin hybrids are not real, you better think twice. They're real as hell. Tell that to this couple, that what they're experiencing is in their head, okay? Because that's not the truth. So, they understand where they're at now. Now they got more of an understanding of what they're dealing with. And she did finish with, what can we do? And basically I told them is, be vigilant and stay out of harm's way. That's about all you could do right now. But this will continue until you leave the premises. Now, the second story. I got this story through a gal I know. Really, really sweet gal. Her name's Melissa. And she went on to tell me this story about her girlfriend. And her girlfriend went on a hiking trip in the Sequoia National Forest. And they've been planning this hike for a little bit now. And so they got themselves prepped and they took off and they went to the area where they're going to start hiking in, because where they're going there is a rec area they have to go through, camping area, and to get where they were going to start their hiking trip. So they had to hike in a couple miles, okay? Now, as they were hiking in there, of course they're having conversation with each other. She was with two male friends. And so the three continued with their hike. They got to their destiny where they wanted to go. Then the sun was starting to set, so of course they set up camp. They got their fire going and such. You know the story how it goes. And they're all sitting around the campfire, her and her two friends. And of course they're conversing about what they're going to be doing for the hike the next day. Then the sun sets, a little time goes by. And then out of nowhere, they get this loud, hideous type of scream. Gets bellowed out through the dark that was coming somewhere in front of them. went on to say that when they made that scream, whatever it was something she had never heard of in her life. So it raised a red flag in her head of what was going on. She did not know. It was just a big mystery. Now, then what was going on is that these screams seemed to happen every hour on the hour throughout the night. And as this went on several times, now about this time, her and her two friends are getting extremely paranoid. And then the fear sets in because the dark don't help them. She said that she started hearing sounds similar, vocalization, but it wasn't the same. So her and her companions went over by this ridge area and they looked down where there was another group camped. And they had their campfire going, they could see that. Their group down below was, of course, a larger group than their three. And she said they started bellowing out back, mimicking what this vocalization was doing to them. They did this several times. And she said absolutely, without a doubt, it was not the same vocalization. Not even close. She knows now it's no human being. She knows now it's no animal she knows of. Now the fear really sets in. It's embedded. All three don't know exactly what to do, and they want to leave, but they're too afraid to leave, so they're going to have to stick this out until the sun comes up the next day. Then she went on to say, as the night went by, then, and the vocalization was occurring every hour on the hour throughout the night. Then, when the one in front of them, and then it was coming from in front of them, when it was yelling out and bellowing, then, probably a few minutes later, such, a response came back. And as this is going on through the night, next thing you know, it's like the vocalization is kind of like bouncing all the way around them. At this point, she knew that the other group down below, they quit mimicking the sounds. So it seemed like they were concerned now. So you kind of say both groups are at a good high set of fear right now, and paranoia. And mainly because of the mystery, and with the dark, of what is really out there. They packed up the next morning and they got the hell out of there. She went back home, still paranoid as hell, confused as hell, and was wondering am I going crazy? Was I hearing this? Was I experiencing this? Or was it a dream? Or is it reality? And I went on to tell her that you're not crazy, so you count that out. What you experience is legit, it's real, and because that's exactly what it will do to you mentally. And I also went on to tell her if it's any constellation, it's already been put a long time ago that these hybrid hominids, yes, they do exist and dwell in the Sequoia National Forest. Now, this happened just a couple weeks ago. Now, another story this, right? Up to date interaction with these hybrid hominids. This story is true and it's factual, okay? The last story. This last one has to do, when I was talking to Melissa, has to do with her grandfather. Now, this story happened 30 years ago. Now, when I talked to Melissa a little while ago, and I'm sorry I didn't hear back from you, Melissa. She was going to call me back. She was going to talk to her grandfather, because the one that had this experience was her grandfather. And she wasn't quite really positive where it happened, but she kind of gave me an idea, so I'm going to feel through this. She told me her grandfather 30 years ago was fishing, and she wasn't sure if it was one of the natural lakes we have up here, which is Shasta County, or it was off the Trinity River. She said it was one of the two. She really couldn't remember. So, what he experienced when he was fishing on this one particular day, he was out fishing, and he was just off the bank. And off the bank he could see the tree line of the forest. And then all of a sudden he heard all this noise going on. And all he said was that he was focused in this one area, and he saw there was some type of an entity that was literally running through the forest of the tree line. And he knew it, whatever it was tall, because branches were breaking, and of course all kinds of havocs going on through the thickest of the forest, or the tree line. And what he could tell was what was going on. This entity was actually upright, 7 to 8 feet in height. Then there was another entity off to the left, and he said it seemed like the two entities were running towards each other as they were going to clash. And he said that he heard the cry of a mountain lion. Then all hell broke loose, as something was really, really going south in that one area. And all this ruckus is going on. You can imagine the sounds. And then all of a sudden he heard one last cry of the mountain lion, and that was it. Everything went quiet, silent, not a sound. He said the larger entity walked away, went back into the forest. He believed what he experienced was a mountain lion and one of these hybrid hominins in battle. And the Sasquatch won the battle. This is a true story. Everything I just told you is true and factual. I hope you like these stories. Now, before I let you go, last year I forgot to do my Halloween special, because I always do them once a year. So I'm going to make it up to you guys. So stay tuned to my next video, which will be on Halloween. And I am going to do a theme this year called The Most Eeriest Places in the Sierra Nevada Mountains, with my own personal experiences. G and I. And I will tell you about these places in my next video, with my Halloween special. Do not miss it. Do not miss it. You're going to love it. I'm going to let you guys go now. Guys, all take care. I hope you like these stories. Like I said, these stories are true and factual. Okay? Guys, take care. See you later. Bye-bye.